Greetings, this is Evangelist George McTyre of the Word of God Ministry, and I would like to thank you for taking the time to view this clip talking about Social Security and uh, the deal with what it actually is a lot of misinformation going on about Social Security. And I won't be too long on this, quite frankly, because it entails a lot more than what I could actually give you in uh, 10 or 15 minutes. But what I wanted to say about Social Security is this. We know that Social Security is the lifeblood for a lot of this population that happen to be retirees or senior citizens that have retired from their jobs, if they had jobs or whatever, or for whatever reason they might found themselves disabled or something. But anyway, what I wanted to address is this idea of privatizing Social Security and the pros and cons on it. Now, we hear a lot of the cons about privatizing Social Security as it pertains to politicians that are running for office. Today is October the 30th, 2010. And I wanted to address this issue on Social Security so there could be no mistake about what I feel is what I would call a con, so to speak, that the Democratic Party is trying to run on the American people, especially our senior citizens, of which I happen to be one myself. The problem comes in about hearing a lot of ads here in Michigan run by politicians, as usual, Democratic politicians complaining about the fact or using what I would call a fear tactic, so to speak, by telling potential voters for the Tuesday elections that their opponent, the Republican, has plans on privatizing Social Security. Now, while Social Security is a beneficial thing to senior citizens, we do have a problem, and the problem is with the funding of Social Security and how long it's actually going to be available for future generations. And the idea of people saying you can't privatize Social Security because I need my Social Security. What the problem comes in is that these senior citizens on these commercials that they're running that are, in their 60s and 70s already drawing Social Security, the privatizing of Social Security will have very little, if any, effect on the current recipients of Social Security. In fact, I would dare say that from ages 55 on up, your Social Security essentially is safe. The idea of privatizing Social Security is not for the current generation of people that are eligible for Social Security, but rather for future generations. Now, why is it like this and why privatize it? Very simple, because we already know, or those of you that may not know, Social Security is in a fix now. At the end of this year, or the early part of next year, for the first time in history. Now, this is according to the Congressional Budget Office. I had an article about that, and I'll try to post the link onto this video for you to read the article for yourself. But for the first time in history, by the end of this year, or maybe by the end of this month, I can't remember without actually going to the article and looking at it again, but for the first time in history, Social Security will start paying out more money than it is taking in. Now, here is the thing. There's enough supposedly in there's no such thing as a Social Security trust fund. There used to be, but the Democrats got rid of that under Bill Clinton, and they basically put Social Security into the general fund, which then means they could use Social Security money for government programs and things like that. When you hear Democrats saying that Republicans, like under Bush and so forth, were raiding the Social Security Trust Fund, what they were saying is, or giving people the impression of, is that the Republicans were going into this fund that had been set aside specifically for Social Security and were using the money up, when in reality the Democrats eliminated that separate fund and combined everything into one fund. And you want to know why Bill Clinton had a so-called budget surplus? It's because of the extra money that the Social Security funding had been added on to the general fund, which basically gave on the books giving Clinton a surplus, when in reality there was no surplus per se. It's just that Social Security and the general fund had been combined together. Anyway, according to their records of how much money was actually supposed to be for Social Security, they say, as I said, that starting either sometime by the end of this year or the first of next year, Social Security will be paying out more money than is taken in. The reason being is you got fewer people working, you got more people retiring, the cost of living and so forth is going up through the roof, or it has been going up through the roof. The people that are working are making less money now because companies have to cut back on overhead and so forth to keep prices down, so that there can be a higher demand for their products, thus ensuring that people will continue to have jobs. Now, as time goes on, these newer workers who would be looking forward to having their own Social Security nest egg are going to find that all of the money that they have essentially been paying in the Social Security isn't there for them, but rather they're paying in the Social Security to start paying the Social Security benefits of those of us that are already retired, which means, in a nutshell, these people are paying money that they will never see again. And so the idea of privatizing Social Security for the individual is essentially taking a a percentage of their wages and putting them into a special separate account for that individual and only for that individual. Right now, the way things go, everybody that's working today, your Social Security money is going to those of us that are already retired and that are, old enough to have reached the age of being eligible for Social Security, or because of a disability or something that somebody has, your money is paying for them. There's no money in Social Security for you as it stands right now. That means that when the time comes, whenever you are eligible to draw Social Security, the money is not really going to be there. That's why the idea of privatizing has become so important, because what we want to do, or what needs to be done is government needs to fulfill its promises to those of us that are already drawing Social Security, but at the same time, this idea of steadily kicking the can down the road, so to speak, where the younger generations, those that are getting out of high school, getting out of college and going to work and having their the government taking out Social Security money for them, the Democrats essentially want to keep this going because they don't want anybody to know that the system that they so much touted being the lifesaver for everybody in this nation is going broke, and it's going broke a lot quicker than what other people than what they are actually saying. The reason being is, see, they don't want to be the ones to have to start telling people like myself and other seniors that they got to reform Social Security to make it viable, because you can't keep spending more money than you're taking in, because at some point you're going to run that into a deficit. And quite frankly, it's not that far off. But see, these Democrats don't want to touch it. They don't want to do anything about it. They want to kick it on down. And as I said, our younger people that are going to work paying Social Security, at some point in time, they're going to realize that they paying into something and they won't get any money back. That's why Republicans say Social Security needs to be privatized. Is not to privatize it from us that are already receiving it, but being put in special accounts for the younger generations, so that when it's time for them to retire some 30 or 40 years after they have started working, there'll be money there for them. As it stands right now, anybody that's starting to work today, when it's time for you to draw Social Security, there will not be any money in there for you, because at the way things are set up right now, I believe it takes 4 workers' wages and Social Security to take care of one senior citizen or somebody that's already drawn Social Security. It takes 4 people, the wages of 4 people's Social Security thing to take care of one person. When Social Security first came out, it was more or less the fact one person's Social Security donation took care of 3 people. But between cost of living and a whole lot of other things which are part of progress and so forth, the numbers have basically been inverted. So that's all I just wanted to say about that.